So when it goes live, I say, and we are live, because that's how I know we are live. And that's my way of telling you, and we're not there yet. Almost there. Oh, it feels so
Mm.
hot. There we go. And now we are live. It's so good to see you, Kyla. I'm so excited to have this one. I'm so excited about this particular one. And look at the crowd join in. Hello, Beth and Jane, Chris, Linda, Jennifer, Cynthia. It's so good to
Yay!
see all of you joining us today, because I guess you all are as excited as I was to get this one started. Kyla, you have come to me with, especially on the topic of the Stories 250, with the greatest enthusiasm of anybody. And it has given me so much joy in putting this together. And I am just thrilled to have you here. I'm glad we were able to find a time. You jumped right on and to help us get these stories told. When I started with this, I didn't know if it was going to matter, if anybody cared, if anybody was going to have stories to submit. And boom, here we are. So I'm excited about it. And I want you to tell me the story of Elisha Richards and the Wyoming massacre. First of all, Wyoming? So tell us the story.
Right. So, yeah, so that's a very good place to start. First of all, is that that's exactly what I thought. I was like, Wyoming was in the revel. No, okay. So it's Wyoming, Pennsylvania. And so Wyoming is actually an area. It was a town and the valley. And in fact, because of this battle and massacre of Wyoming, that was actually the state itself was named
Ah,
after that in honor of their sacrifices and everything that happened. So, um, anyway, so just a little bit about what I was hoping for when I started all of this. I was actually, I the word massacre just, you know, but I was actually trying to find some kind of beauty in there somewhere in that messiness and survival, and I wanted to my Elijah Richards, my patriot was very well documented. So I've been in the DAR for a very long time. There were a lot of probably 8 or 10 prior to me that had been approved, daughters that had been approved through him. So I really didn't look at it for a very long time, and I just kind of glanced at it a little bit, and his name is on the monument, and he was a private, and that's all, that's as far as I went for a very, very long time.
mhm.
But with America 250 coming around, I've just gotten so very excited, and it's just fascinating to me. I just want to learn everything about the revolution right now. And so, and all of the different projects and all the ideas that are going on that we're part of, it's just so, so very excited. So anyway, but I wanted to be able to celebrate my guy, right? He wasn't a soldier, really. He was just a private. And when I started looking at it, he didn't really even sign up. He wasn't one of the militia. He was actually just a regular, which meant they were just on uh you know uh they would be called up and it when needed, basically.
Mm.
He wasn't out there serving. So anyway, but when needed, he went and protected the community. And so that was something to be proud of. And then I started thinking about, so one of the things that I always try to remember when I'm researching my ancestor couples, right, is that it takes two, right? There's two families there, there's two people there all the time. And I was started to realize as I started thinking about this is that she wasn't just the wife, right? She was very resilient. Obviously, I'm here. All of my cousins are here. Hello, cousins. So many descendants out there. But, because what she was, not just a wife, but she was actually the big mama bear that rounded up all those kids and ran away when she needed to, right? Okay. So anyway, so that's where I started. So I started with the facts. So what do we know when we start doing research, right? What do we know? I know that I'm here. So that means that she survived. right? Um,
Somebody did.
Somebody did, exactly, and, also my little that was there that was, along the line, was 13. So I knew for a fact that she didn't survive by herself also, right?
Mhm.
That mom had to have made it. So that's pretty much where I started with. So there were 3 family stories and 3 different lines that I could
Mm.
find, any indication of what happened, and most of them were about 3 sentences. He died in the battle, and he's on the monument, right?
I
And
mean, thank you, but
yeah, thank you, but yes, exactly. She and the kids, escaped over the mountains and traveled, and there was different lengths. So some said 200 miles, said almost 200 miles. Some said a great distance, right? That was the 3 things. One of them said to her father-in-laws. One of them said in one place. One said to her to friends in a different place. And then the third one didn't say anything at all, but just said and overland, um, with assistance along the way. Didn't say where she went to. So that was kind of where I started.
can you back up a little bit to tell the story of the siege that led to this massacre, that led to
Yes,
the escape through the valley?
absolutely, absolutely. So there's a lot of things that happened. Okay, so this particular area was there was what was heavily contested anyway between the Pennonites, the Connecticut frontiersmen that came over and settled, and then of course the Native American, the Iroquois, Seneca. There were it was called the Five Tribes
Mhm.
Confederacy
Mhm.
that were
In
so
this valley, the
in the
the
same
Wyoming
valley, right?
Valley in Pennsylvania.
In
Uh-huh.
Pennsylvania. So what had actually happened, prior to this, further back, was that the both the Pennonites and the Connecticut colonists paid that particular group, the Indians, to for the land. So they
Uh,
had been paid twice already for this land, but they were still in there trying to take it over, basically take it back. So
cultural different.
um,
Mhm.
while all of this was going on, of course, we're in the revolution, right? So the date that we're looking at is July 3rd, 1778. So that was the day of the battle. But if we back up just a little bit, about a year prior to that, um, the um, the um, the colonists in the area, basically, they had been there had been a lot of Indian raids, and and Native American raids. I'm not sure my anyway,
Mhm.
all of the records I've been reading say Indian, so
Yeah,
that's what I'm
yeah.
gonna go with. Um, there have been a lot of raids, and so they petitioned to the Continental Congress to have some militia put together, and they were told to put together 2 companies to defend themselves and to start building these forts. And so they built 7 forts along the Susquehanna River on both
Mhm.
sides,
Mhm.
to protect the people, right? If
Mhm.
things happened, they needed to be pulled in. So this was about 8 months after that. Those 2 companies were actually called to go to help General Washington.
Huh?
And so all of the real soldiers were over there doing that.
Ah, yeah.
And they actually participated with Valley Forge
Uh-huh.
and some other things, some of the other battles. And there were some record of families telling them, come back, we need help, we need help." And so they approved them to put together another company to stay to defend them. But these
Mhm.
are, at this point, these are the untrained. They're the older men, younger boys,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
It's the leftovers, really and truly, the ones
Mhm.
that didn't already go. So that is who was there um, to
And
defend
the
it.
aggression in this case
Mm.
was the Native Americans, the Indians?
Well, actually, no. What happened was it was the British.
Mhm.
So there's a large force of them. I want to say, I'm trying to look at my numbers. I'm terrible with numbers, but I want to say 350 or so of them. Um, of them, and then there were a good number of loyalists of Tories that
Mhm.
were at one particular, I think one and or actually two of the forts seemed to be people that actually, yeah, that when the battle started actually left and went and fought with the British, and the British also negotiated for about 6 to 700 of the Native Americans to fight with them. And
Mm.
so the morning of the battle, or it was the afternoon. It was about 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and um, let me back up just a second. About a month prior to that, everybody in the valley moved into the forts.
Mhm.
We saw them coming, right? We knew that this is a big force, and they knew that the valley was the prime target.
Prime real estate. Yeah, sure.
Uh-huh. Yes, exactly. So the women and children are all in the forts, and the company that was left decided to go out and meet them, and so they took off and marched to the British,
Mhm.
basically, and um, it looked pretty good there for a little while, for a couple of rounds that they were doing all right. But what had happened is that the Indians were on the left flank and they were hiding in more of a marshy, swampy area on one side. And when um, when they came out and attacked, the commander actually said something about pull the line back. And in the confusion, they think that the men thought it was a call to retreat. And so they took off running. And then when the Native Americans saw that, they ran after them.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Hey, a
they
ragtag band, you're gonna have a little, yeah.
they
So,
completely untrained.
so it was a massacre. I
It
mean,
was it
yeah,
was a complete massacre.
and
Even the
then
ones that tried to surrender, there were a few that did manage to get away, that managed to escape,
right,
to to bring the
right,
story back to the fort.
right. So your ancestors, Elijah Richards' family, were in the fort at this point,
Mhm.
and they realized they got to get the hell out of Dodge. They got to get the hell out of the fort and to safety with all these children. How many children was this? Do you know at this point?
Let's see, that we had,
But it was a handful. I mean, it
right,
wasn't
yeah, it was. Rebecca was 20, so there was a 20-year-old girl, um, a 17-year-old girl, and then the oldest boy was 16. 16, 13, 11, 8, and 2. So
Mm.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 kids.
He's carrying this baby 200 miles. Oh,
Took off out the
and
so
and hungry and sore and cold and terrified.
yeah. And not just her. The estimates are about, there were 2. Okay, so the runaways, right, took off. Everybody took off, and, there were 2 routes. One large group, over 100, women, so I don't know how many kids that was, and 2 men,
Mhm.
went down the river. And
Mm.
so, on there's reports of that just looking like a on everything that they could find that would float,
Mm.
basically. Anything they could find.
Log, anything, yeah.
Yeah, down the river, and then the larger portion of them went up and over the mountains. My ancestor, so there was an area, so her name was Sarah, and, there was an area right there that was called what was it called? it was called the swampy area was called the Black Swamp, and I think they called it the Dark Swamp. They called it the Dark
Mhm.
Swamp, but the Native Americans were actually afraid of that area. That
Uh-oh. Probably a
the
good reason.
yeah,
Yeah.
it had a much darker native name, and
Hmm.
they were scared of that. So that is the story, was that she and the kids actually hid in there for a short time, um until they were ready to
So they make this trek 200 miles over hill and dale to her in-laws' home
her
in
father-in-law,
still in Pennsylvania?
in Connecticut. Yeah, in
In
Connecticut, but it's
Connecticut.
very close. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So,
Is it?
so in Connecticut. And then Elijah was off at war somewhere else in some of the other epic battles going on at the time. Did did he survive those battles? Did they
Oh, no, no.
reconnect? He
No,
had already
no,
died?
he did not go off with the group that went to Washington, with
Oh,
Washington. Yeah, no.
aha.
He was not gone. He was there in the fort. So
Oh,
he was in the group. Yeah, he was
yeah,
with
he went off to do
that
the
group.
battle. Did
Yeah,
he
sorry.
survive?
Mm,
No, no. Okay,
no.
so that had to be terrifying. You
Right.
know,
So not
your
only are you
husband's dead,
grieving.
you're stepping over the corpses, to be perfectly blunt, and the British are still there. I mean, you win a
Mhm,
massacre, then
mhm.
what happens, right?
Right,
Do we know
right.
any, they go off to do strategic whatevers.
So
Um,
the story is, I mean,
I
the
mean, I
official
see a
story is that
movie
they
here.
saw. Yeah. Exactly, exactly.
So,
they did follow the complete protocol and so on. They sent a runner to the fort and, demanded surrender and gave them time to talk about it and so on. Those kind of things went back and forth, and they did surrender, and the commander's name was Butler. Actually, the commanders for both sides' name was Butler. That's kind of funny. But anyway, um,
yeah,
he did promise that no one would be harmed, after that, whatever, and but they would have to agree to not take up arms again, and so on and so forth. But he is also quoted as saying that, he couldn't stop them.
yeah,
He just couldn't stop it from happening.
yeah.
So, yeah, so everybody fled as fast
Oh,
as they could. Approximately, I think somewhere between 1,000 and 1,500 people completely vacated
yeah.
the valley, and as they went, they're telling more people about what's happening, and so more people are going
Right, along the way, yeah,
and
the 200
along the
mile,
way.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. So,
Wow,
in the meantime, at the same time that this is happening, the 2 companies that were off fighting were trying to make it back. They were 40 miles away, which is about a day, um, during the actual battle. There were 3
mhm,
guys that had rowed as hard as they could to get there and stopped at the fort to get the information, to say that the guys they're coming, they're here, whatever, went on to the battle. All 3 of them died in the battle. So there were 3 of the original company the original 2 that made it, to participate in the battle. So that group, the next day when they arrived, they came to the top of the over the mountain at the very top. They could see the valley burning. They could see
mhm,
all the fires and everything. They actually, talked to a couple of the fleeing, people, and got the word of what had happened and that kind of thing. And
mhm,
so, yeah, that they did not keep going towards the valley, obviously,
yeah,
because
yeah,
it was pretty much all over.
yeah.
Mm.
Cynthia Raleigh chimes in with such courage and endurance, the families that it took for these families, and Jennifer, would comment that it is such an incredible story. Even as you tell it, it sounds like you are retelling a movie that I can visualize. I already see the hills, and the whole thing. It's
Could you
just,
almost feel the terror?
yeah. And, this is how these battles were fought at that day and age. And, the practicalities of life with little children and this incredible mother who survived. Did
Mhm.
she, when she made it to the home of her father-in-law, I'm going to guess, given the lifespan for these people, she was probably, in her 30s or, late 30s or something. Um,
Okay, so I thought that too. That's exactly what I thought. I was like, okay, how much longer did she actually live?
well,
So
I mean,
so
we get old,
yes,
we get tired.
we gotta figure this out, right, right. Yeah.
Hello, Maureen.
So they were both in their 40s when this happened. He was 43, she was 45. They had been married 21 years, and their oldest was 20. So
Oh,
they
that's
had
right. You did
started
say that.
having
Yeah.
children right away.
Yeah. As one does.
Let's see, and then where did
As
she?
one does when your lifespan is 50.
Right, right, exactly.
Oh,
She
hey,
actually
Maureen.
lived to
Nice
be
to see you.
69.
Wow. That's a ripe old
Yes,
age.
yes, indeed, and I was also amazed that she went to her father-in-law's house. So I did, I told you about the rabbit holes. Oh my goodness, that was a big. I'm like, "Okay, now I gotta go figure out because obviously father-in-law's still alive, what's going on over there?" So I had to go research those too because I hadn't done that yet either.
How old
Yeah,
was he?
he was,
They're
let's
in their
see,
40s. He's in his 60s.
and he lived hold on, and he lived quite a little ways after that too. I know.
Healthy
And
place in
mother-in-law was
Connecticut.
also still alive, yeah. His name was Jedediah.
Of course.
He lived 6 more I know, right? Of course. And Jedediah lived 6 years after the battle, after they came. So I'm assuming I don't know for sure because the after records are pretty sketchy,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
I would imagine that they lived there, that they lived with them
I'm not
after
going
there.
home. I'm
But,
not going home.
yeah, yeah, yes, exactly. Exactly. So, yeah, and both of them did. Her father-in-law and mother-in-law, both lived 6 years later. They both died the same year also. So, isn't that
You know, this is a glance of a particular story for a particular family that you just happen to have because it was passed down to you. And you're a remarkable genealogist, but we'll come to back to that later.
Thank you.
Um, and and here you've got this connection to this story, this place. Have you been to the Wyoming Valley?
No, I haven't. I'm looking
I
forward to
personally have
doing that.
also never lived anywhere any of my ancestors did, which is kind of amazing because I've lived a lot of places. And it's just what an experience. I mean, that is obviously going to be a pilgrimage for you at some point. Um,
Absolutely.
but to have that sense and so many and this was a civil war. This was a civil war that, as somebody put it, is became a world war in its
Mhm,
time.
mhm.
Bill says Wyoming Valley is beautiful.
Uh,
I'm sure it is, as you've described it, including the dark part of the
I can
marsh.
see why they were fighting over
Yeah, right. Um, but, families on both sides, families in what is today Canada, all in the middle of this battle. It's such an honor to be here now collecting these stories as we see them coming in and and watching them and having them become part of our shared experience here. I have, just to put a little plug in, if I may, under the name Stories250 for Projectkin, projectkin.org/stories250 was my initial post, and I've added that into a section for any other posts that I have. I have an open door welcoming anyone who needs help getting their own stuff posted. You can do that here. Talk to me about a story you have about an ancestor, and I'd be delighted to host you, as with Kyla and my other guests that I've had here. to tell their stories about their ancestors, and most of all, to put you into a shared timeline and map. Um, again, I've
Very
never lived
fun.
in these places, so I found the map especially interesting. Who knew?
Yeah,
Connecticut? Why, Pennsylvania? Go look
exactly.
at the map again.
This this whole adventure was completely different for me in terms of researching because for that very reason, like, I knew nothing about the time period really other than what I learned in school, which I found out was completely wrong, most of it, uh, or the area, and so I'd never done any research, so that the whole process along the way, I had some awesome help. I started, right away with the Lucerne Historical Society right there, right, the closest ones. They actually, there is an organization that does every year on July 3rd ever since I think it was 1898. They have a celebration, it's not a celebration, but a commemoration,
Acknowledgement, yeah.
there, and
So,
a speaker, and, they have every year they have a book, they have documented, they've published every speaker every year, and so that's where a lot of my information came from, just reading through those
wow.
fascinating
Mm.
stories of family after family after family, that this is a similar, very similar thing, and
Let me let me
good.
back up for just a second because everybody needs to know a little secret that I know about you. You're a librarian,
Oh,
a
yes.
genealogist and a librarian, DAR member, and a lot of other things. You live in Texas,
Yes, I do.
outside of Houston, if I'm not
Mhm,
mistaken, right?
yeah.
And here you are researching the story in a place, the Wyoming Valley in Pennsylvania, that you've not been to. So when you did that research, being the smart librarian that you are, you knocked on the door at the Historical Society in the
Right.
Wyoming Valley because the good people in
Absolutely.
Houston may not have so much on the subject.
Exactly.
And
Well,
yeah, well,
yes.
some. And
Yes
we
and
all
no.
have digital resources, of course, but being
Right.
able to see those firsthand accounts and the collected resources of the local historical societies
Right.
around the world. Because we know that now with all
Mhm.
our good friends from the European continent and the UK to across the Americas, Canada, hello, and across the United States, Mexico now, off to the Pacific, Australia, and New Zealand and Hong Kong. It is amazing what incredible resources we've been able to bring to bear in
Yeah.
this shared experience. And I think to me, that's been the most important thing to realize. You know, the biggest contributors, I'll be honest, to the Stories 250 effort right now are coming from Australia.
Somewhere else?
Thank you, Anne
Right.
Young,
No, no.
blowing it away. And it
It is
started
old stories to us, right? We're like, not necessarily.
you know what? I think there is a such a long tradition, and genealogists have the infrastructure, have the trees, have the forests, know how branches work, to be able to traverse those trees and find the stories. And I think that's something that not enough Americans understand and appreciate. Um, and I don't think it's alone for Americans. I think that's a global thing for students everywhere to appreciate and have
Mhm.
that opportunity. I think all of us are just making our effort in our own families. A little insert there.
Right? I think if you think about it, if you stop and think about that level of the tree up there, right? This is, what did we say? Sixth great grandparents? Like, we have a lot of those.
That's
We
right.
have a lot.
Not to mention the sixth great uncles and aunts, and then how many cousins, extended
Cousins and
ancestors that
all
you
down
have
the
that share those same family members. What is it,
yes. Yes,
1023
indeed.
or something, just out to 3 or 4? So it's
Right?
just insane. We're talking in the
It's
millions.
crazy how many. So
Oh,
let me tell you a couple of different things about the research, because like you said, I'm a librarian. So to date, we have about 250 resources that I have checked and sources.
of course
So
it's
the places,
250. Just gonna say it had to be 250.
yeah, no, it is getting closer, and it's hard because some of them quoted other sources. So, but that was actually where I started. I started, believe it or not, with Wikipedia, and I went scroll down to the bottom, and all of the
That's right.
sources that are there, right,
Exactly.
and just start running down those rabbit trails to try to find original sources. But the like you said, that was one of the big reasons that I because there is a whole lot of stuff online, but we all know that there's not everything is online yet. Um,
Yeah.
Yet.
Keep
So
checking.
that's why I started with, yeah,
Mm.
and they were very helpful. They had materials there, at their library that I couldn't get. There were, a number of references to things that were not online, so I actually did go physically to some libraries. University of Houston, believe it or not, yay!
Local Family Search Center.
Right, a family started, Clayton, yeah, anyway, all of the places.
Yeah.
But, another thing that I wanted to tell you about that was really amazing, I want to, I didn't actually ever find a firsthand account of my girl, um, but what I did find was, so they said, in the official report, they said that there were 17 women, 17, testimonies about the flight. Of those, I can only find 4 that were published that survived to today. But what I did find about my girl, um, so remember I told you that Rebecca was 20.
Hmm.
So the 20-year-old, I found an account, and I found this in a newspaper. Guess what? The newspaper was printed in 1949. It was a reprint of an 1886 story, and it was nowhere near any of the places that I have been looking for. Okay, it's a completely different valley because, of course, this daughter married and
Married.
moved somewhere
Mhm.
else,
Mhm.
right? Can I read you what it says
Yeah. What a
about
great
her?
way to close. Yeah, go
Okay,
ahead.
perfect. Okay, Stephen Roberts is the name, is the man that she married. Um, wait, let's see.
Rebecca.
Yes, Rebecca Roberts. The story of the okay, wait, no, no, wait. His wife was Rebecca Richards, daughter of Elisha Richards, who fell in the Wyoming battle. Mrs. Roberts often related sad memories of the never forgotten massacre of her father and many others of her acquaintance. And when more than 80 years had worn on her physical and mental faculties, those sad tales would be rehearsed to interested listeners with vivid accuracy. The story of the flight of the bereaved mother and orphaned children, of their destitution and endurance, would at times seem almost incredible to those not acquainted with the truthfulness of the woman, but never doubted by any who knew her well. Many widowed women, with their helpless children clinging to their garments, sobbing in all the bitterness of the orphan's woe, accompanied the bereft family of Elisha Richards, or sought other safety from the tomahawk by other paths. Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Kyla. Thank you so much for sharing the stories, the humanity of it. And it's just an inspiration for another generation, for all of us, working on our own stories to remind us why it's so important to do this. And, you know, find the resources. We're a community here to help each other. And I know you help communities of people every day in the library, and look at the strength of
You.
those stories that still pass. And thank all of you for joining us today. I truly appreciate it. We will, I'll be getting this out. It'll go out right away. But if you see this video without notes to it, hang on, do a refresh. I'm updating it within a couple of hours with more links and things as I have them.
Thank you
Ah,
so much.
thank you
Thank you.
so much. Thank you all. Bye bye now.